This shocking twist in the double homicide of an Ohio dentist and his wife that happened just before New Year's. A suspect now charged and arrested, and we are learning he was previously married to one of the victims. Michael McKee is now facing 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of Spencer and Monique Tepe. Now, he is Monique's ex husband. The couple was found fatally shot in their Ohio home while their 2 children and the dog were unharmed inside. Police were able to zero in on him as a suspect because of surveillance video in the neighborhood around the time the couple was murdered. Now, from those videos, they tracked McKee's vehicle, finding it in Rockford, Illinois. McKee is expected to appear in court in Illinois tomorrow, Monday. A new development tonight, a community coming together to honor Spencer and Monique for their funeral that took place today. And for more, we are joined by Jennifer Coffendorfer tonight, law and justice contributor for News Nation and former special agent with the FBI. Jennifer, thanks for joining us on this case.
Thanks for having me.
And one of the details early on in this investigation, both the children were found physically unharmed inside of the house. No signs of forced entry at that home. What does that information immediately indicate about the person who did this?
They knew him.
Well, it indicated certainly that they knew this couple well, that they had staked out the location well. It was also very clear they knew where the camera locations were because they evaded a lot of camera coverage, it would seem. And so somehow he came across that entry code to enter the residence.
McKee himself, a vascular surgeon in Illinois and California, according to the Columbus Dispatch. His medical license record showing no disciplinary history or no malpractice there. And then his criminal records only showing traffic related tickets in the past. He has been charged. He has not been convicted. Are you surprised by the previous profile of this suspect?
Not really. When I look at this case, we knew it was going to be very personal for somebody to go up in the bedroom and kill these individuals with a gun. So we knew it was very personal, somebody who knew them. What is interesting, though, this divorce happened about 9 years ago. They were married for such a brief time, only 7 months. And so that is strange, but I think it was a deep seated resentment and hate that just built up and finally came to this conclusion.
And we know the
9 years. 9 years he went by. This just building up, and he ends up killing his ex-wife and her new husband.
murders happened just before the couple was about to celebrate an anniversary. I mean, is there anything to that timing that is significant or jumping out to you?
I think it could be. You know, when I look back at the Brown University shootings, Natasha, remember that individual, now that we have his sort of manifesto of why he did it, he had a deep seated resentment that stayed with him for 3 years. I think that this could be a situation that's very similar, that it just built up over time and finally came to a head. And probably that anniversary could have been part of the reason.
Talk to me.
That is a crazy situation. Absolutely crazy. Let's get over into this next video. I feel like we got the gist of this video. But let's hear some more chilling possible motives that the New York Post came up with.
We continue to follow a double homicide in Columbus that has drawn national attention.
After an Ohio dentist and his wife were gruesomely gunned down just 2 weeks after their 5th wedding anniversary, there was one question on everyone's mind: why? Now, an ex-FBI agent is suggesting that a years-long, deep-seated resentment and hatred is to blame for the sickening act, as the couple's grieving family reveals they are not surprised by an arrest in the case. Here's what you need to know. Spencer Tepe and his wife Monique were found dead in their Columbus home on December 30th, soon after celebrating their anniversary, authorities said. Spencer, who was 37 years old, suffered multiple gunshot wounds, while Monique, who was 39, was shot at least once in the chest, according to police records. Their 2 children, a 4-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son, were...
Now that says something to me, just the fact that the husband was shot so many times and she was shot so little. He had a... Sounds to me he had a lot of hatred towards the husband, but that's just my opinion.
Found unharmed inside the home. The violent attack happened between 2 and 5 a.m. in the upstairs of the home, cops said. No gun was discovered at the scene, and there was no sign of forced entry. Chilling 911 calls offered further insight into the horrific scene as frantic friends who rushed to the house for a wellness check saw a bloodied body and heard a child scream. And Spencer's employer called 911 after becoming alarmed that he hadn't shown up for work.
This individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family. Like, he is always on time, and he would contact us if there was any issues whatsoever. I just don't know how else to say this. Like, we're very, very concerned because this is very out of character.
As police searched for a suspect, they released eerie surveillance footage showing a person of interest walking down an alley near the couple's home around the time of the killings, though Spencer's brother-in-law soon poured cold water on the importance of the figure in an interview with News Nation.
I do think, suspicious looking person there. It also very well could be, somebody walking home drunk from a bar.
Then finally, on Saturday, January 10th, authorities announced a break. Police had arrested a suspect in the murders, Monique's ex-husband, Michael David McKee. Columbus investigators reportedly tracked a vehicle that arrived in the Wayland Park neighborhood where the couple lived before the double killing and later left for Rockford, Illinois, and identified that McKee owned the car. McKee worked as a vascular surgeon in a practice in the Rockford area where his vehicle was found. The 39-year-old doctor from Chicago married Monique in 2015. She then filed for divorce in May 2017 before marrying Spencer in 2020. While court records indicate the divorce was amicable, an ex-FBI agent has now raised a theory that McKee's anger was quietly brewing the entire time.
They were married for such a brief time, only 7 months. And so that is strange, but I think it was a deep-seated resentment and hate that just built up and finally came to this conclusion.
Meanwhile, the couple's families say they are not surprised by the arrest, with a relative revealing to the Daily Mail that they all expected the husband was to blame, but noted that they stayed mum throughout the probe so they wouldn't compromise the investigation. It was absolutely not a shock to anybody, the unidentified family member said.
Crazy situation. Absolutely crazy. Let's see if there's anything else in this next video.
After the double murder of a husband and wife in Ohio, police think they have their man, and they say the accused is one of the victim's ex-husband. CBS News correspondent Chanel called following this story. Chanel, by all accounts, the man accused had an amicable divorce. Everybody moved on with their lives. So what do we know about this guy?
But look, Reed, that divorce happened 10 years ago, almost a decade ago. We don't know what may or may not have happened in the years since. At this point, police are saying that the person who is at the center of this investigation, this double homicide, is 39-year-old Michael McKee. As you noted there, they are saying that he is the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. Monique and Spencer were both killed in their Columbus, Ohio home almost 2 weeks ago. As we understand it, their 2 young children were also inside that home, Reed. Obviously, just such a tragic story. Police do say, though, those kids are alive and unharmed, thankfully. But this all came to light because some of their friends came over to do a wellness check on them because Spencer had not shown up to work. So they went over, and that is.
We got the gist of everything. Let's go into the AI breakdown. I feel like we understand all what's happening right now. So let's jump over into that and see what else we can find out. So let's get over into this. So as I said, we're gonna look at the AI breakdown. Ooh, wrong thing right there. So Michael McKee, 39, was arrested for the double murder, Spencer and Monique. So the police conducted a well. We know all that. So the investigation used neighbor surveillance footage to identify a vehicle near the scene at the time of the murder. The vehicle was traced to Rockford, Illinois, where McGee was apprehended without incident. He initially faced 2 counts of murder, which were upgraded to premeditated aggravated murder by on today. He appeared in the court to begin extradition back to Ohio. Let's see. So I did want to know why they get divorced. So while the specific incident was not cited, the court records show that Monique and Michael divorced in June 2017 on the grounds of incompatibility. So the details from the 2017 Divorce filings include a brief marriage. So the couple was married in August 2015, but they lived together for only about 7 months before separating in March 2016. At the time of the divorce filing, they were already living in different states, and Monique resided in Ohio while McGee was in Virginia completing his medical residency. The final decree required Monique to pay McGee about $1,200, $1,300 for reimbursement of some debt. So amicable. So at the time of the split, everything appeared typical and very amicable, with no children involved and no reports of major conflicts or domestic abuse on the record. So the investigators are currently looking into any deep-seated resentment or hidden issues from the past relationship that could serve as motives from this 2025 murder. It's a crazy situation. 9, 10 years. They think this was building up in him for 9 or 10 years, where he just snapped and killed his ex-wife and her new husband a couple days after their wedding anniversary. And it makes sense that the children weren't hurt because it wasn't a random attack. He knew who he was attacking. And that's the reason he shot the husband multiple times and only shot his wife his ex-wife a few times. He was angry at that man for taking what was his, or having what was his. I'm assuming that's how he felt. But we'll have to wait for more details to come out. Overall, it's a crazy situation. But it sounds like the family of the victims, that's who they already had in mind, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to mess up the investigation. A crazy situation, y'all. Absolutely crazy. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said.